it's LeJanaro back with another video. If you are new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back. So today I want to do a video. I was tagged by Rochelle Handmade Designs in the This or That challenge. The challenge is done on the Love to Sew podcast, and I think she said Julie brought it over to the sewing community. So I guess video wise. So I am going to do my this or that. I do have notes because my memory is not that great, so I can't remember what the different categories are off the top of my head. But let's get started. So the first topic is sewing prep, right? So are we shopping new or are we shopping our stash? So I will say that I mostly now shop my stash. I haven't done a lot of fabric shopping. You all know I was vehicle challenged there for a while. So I wasn't able to get to fine fabrics. Now, if there's a specific pattern, I don't have it next to me right now, but if there's a specific pattern that I need a specific fabric that I don't have in my stash, of course I'm going to shop new. But for the most part, I have been shopping my stash, and all of my pre-cut projects that I have right now, I shop my stash. Right, so next up, PDF or paper patterns. Even though I do have a good collection of PDF patterns, mostly bag patterns, I prefer paper patterns. I really don't like printing and taping and cutting, not at all. For most of the PDF patterns that I get Mommy, we've been sending them off to a printer, getting them print out for her. So she doesn't have to do any printing and taping and all of those things. So I do prefer a paper pattern. It's just much more convenient for me. Right, next up, cutting or tracing. I am not about that tracing life. Not at all. I will cut patterns, and then if I cut the wrong size, I will go buy another pattern if they still have it in stock. If they don't, I just won't make that pattern. And now, because me and Mommy, and at one time my sister was sewing as well, we all had the same patterns. If I needed a different size, one of them may have had the size that I needed. But for the most part, I am cutting. I am not tracing. The only time some tracing will happen if me and Mommy both like a pattern, and they only had one, say for instance like a Berta pattern where they only have one in a drawer. Mommy will trace that pattern for me, but I am not about that tracing life. All right, next up, muslin or am I gonna go for it? To be honest with you, I'm gonna go for it. If I say that I'm going to make a muslin, I really don't mean it. I'm just saying it because it sounds good. I know that I'm going to make it. If it doesn't fit, I just won't wear it, or I will maneuver it just so I can take a picture for it to post on Instagram, and then that thing gets thrown in the corner until I get ready to go to donate things that I've made. So I am definitely going to go for it. I know recently with a dress I made, I know I still need to show y'all the dress. I know. I did make a wearable muslin simply because of the size. I wanted to make sure that the size of the pattern fit the top, and it did. So that part was great. But anyway, I'm gonna go for it, girl. All right. So topic number 2 is fabric. All right, am I in store or am I shopping online? I'm definitely in store. I have taken you all with me to find fabrics many times here on the channel. I like to feel my fabric. I like to see my fabric. Online just has me waiting around, and then when I get it, it's a possibility it's not what I thought it was going to be. Only thing that I will say I would want to do online, if it's a fabric that I'm not quite sure what it is, and I go to find fabrics and I don't see it, I might order it online, maybe. But for the most part, I am an in-store fabric shopping person. All right, so knits or wovens, you all know I love a good knit. I love sewing with knit fabrics. I do in the near future want to start sewing more with woven fabrics. Um, but for the most part, not 98.9% of the time, I am using a knit fabric because it stretches. Simply because it stretches. And I am very hippie, so I need something that's gonna stretch over these hips. And when I started sewing and I was following Mimi G, that's pretty much what she sewed with. She sewed with knits, so that's how I learned to sew. So I think a lot of times, whatever we learn to sew on is what we use. I do use woven and cottons and different things in my bags. So, but I, funny story, I made some pants once out of woven fabric. I think it was like maybe a suiting or something like that. Those pants would not go past my thigh. It was so funny. So yeah, I'm knit all the way. Right? Tumble dry or hang to dry. So whenever I do wash my fabric, I tumble dry. The only time that I have done a hang to dry has been with some Ankara fabric, and I did that because I didn't want it to lose its oomph. um, because sometimes with those fabrics, when you wash them, and they may not be true Ankara fabric, that might be the reason why it does that. They may not be a true, authentic Ankara fabric. So sometimes when you wash and dry it, it becomes thin. It's not the color isn't as vibrant anymore. So that's the only time I've done a hang to dry, was only with some Ankara fabric, but for everything else, I will tumble dry. All right, next up, rotary cutter or scissors. I use scissors simply because my hand-eye coordination is not there yet. And when I'm using a rotary cutter, I'm usually going, this is straight. And then for some reason, I veer off to the right. I don't know why. So I need a little bit more practice with the rotary cutters, but for right now, I am a scissors person. I use scissors to cut everything. Mommy, um, she uses rotary cutters to trim patterns. Um, she says that's much faster for her. She doesn't have to stand as long. She take a little small rotary cutter and she will trim her patterns. So when she's up here, I try to get her to trim my patterns for me. All right, topic number 3 is clothing construction. So, do I follow the pattern or am I gonna wing it? It depends. If it's something easy like a jogger set, I'm probably going to wing it because those are pretty easy to sew. But if it's something like my bomber jacket that I make, I have to go back and reference the instructions just to make sure I don't miss anything. Or if I'm sewing something and it's brand new, I've never made it before, or a bag pattern, I will definitely follow the instructions. But for the most part, if I'm making a top, because I'm sewing with knits, top, jogger set, something like that, hoodie, I'm gonna wing it. All right. Bias tape finishing or facing. So, um, yeah, to be honest with you, I neither. If I will skip a facing in a minute. If I can turn it under, I'm turning it under. Um, I don't know, for some reason I feel facings bother me. For some reason, I don't know why. They just really bother me when I'm wearing the garment. Even in ready to wear clothes, if it had a facing, it bothered me. I just felt like it was. I had one shirt. The facing would just always just be in my face. It was a ready to wear shirt, so facings bother me. And I haven't. I think maybe I've used bias tape once, and that might have been with a bag pattern, maybe. But I do want to get into using more bias tape to finish seams. All right. Next up, serge seams or French seams. Serging. I am serging all day. I have multiple sergers. Thank you, mommy. They have different colors on them. So I think I have one with black, one with white, one with multicolored. I am serging my seams. The only time I've done a French seam is when I was making a pillowcase. So, serging seams, that's my thing. Right, next up, button fly or zip fly. I haven't done either one. I haven't, when I've made pants and made a zipper, it's just been like a side zipper or something like that. I have not made a fly front zipper. But if I had to choose, I would say zip fly because I can just imagine myself. Um, Actually, I don't even have to imagine it. My friend gave me a pair of jeans and they're buttoned. And when I would say I was so irritated having to undo those buttons. So I'm going to say I am a zip fly person. There are a couple of patterns that have button flies, so that I want to make. I think one is Mimi G specifically, one of her older patterns. It has a button fly, so but I'm a zip fly if I have to choose. All right, so button by hand or machine sewn. I haven't done a button still. But knowing myself, because I don't like to hand sew, I haven't quite mastered the art of hand sewing yet. I'm probably more than likely going to use the machine to add my buttons. Yep. It's good to know yourself. Right? Next up, fusible fleece or sew-in interfacing. Fusible fleece. Fusible interfacing or sew-in interfacing. So fusible, for the most part, I'm using fusible when I do interface. Um, I'm using fusible interfacing. Sew-in interfacing is mostly me when I make a bag that calls for foam interfacing. That's the only time I will sew in interfacing, but majority of the time I am doing a fusible interfacing. All right, snip as you go or all at once. So I snip as I go. If you watch me do any of the sew alongs on the channel, you know once I'm finished sewing, I go ahead and snip. So yeah, I snip as I go. If I do it all at once, I'm gonna miss something. So I go ahead and snip as I go. So last but not least in this topic is press as you go or all at once. You all should hear mommy saying, can you please press your garments? Again, because I sew with knits, sometimes it just lays down. So I, I'll go ahead and choose all at once. Um, Depending on what I'm making. So a lot of times if I'm sewing a jogger set or something and it has something like this, I will go ahead, this is ribbed, but let's say this is regular fabric. I'll go ahead and press this. I'll fold it in half and press it just so it'll be nice and clean. My neck bands, I'll go ahead and press it, fold them in half and press them so they will be nice and clean. But for the most part, the entire garment, once it's finished, I'm more than likely pressing all at once. I'm gonna do better, I promise. I know it's especially when I start sewing with wovens, I know I'm going to have to start pressing as I go. Right? I'm gonna do better. You hear that, mommy? I'm gonna do better. All right, so topic number 4, sewing habits. Late night sewing or daytime seamstress. I will say I am a daytime seamstress simply because I live in an apartment and I don't want my sewing machines to disturb my neighbors, even though they don't give me the same courtesy. So I am a daytime seamstress. If I lived in a house, I think a standalone house, I probably would be more of a late night sewing person because I feel like I don't get momentum until after 10 p.m. and then it's time to go to bed. So I'll say around 10 a.m. I'll start sewing, and then I'll probably stop around 10 at night. Um, so daytime, right? Slow and steady or frantic sewing. I will say that I am frantic. I want to get done. If it's going to take me more than a day to get it done, I don't want to do it. Um, I'm going to do better because there are some things that I know I want to make, and I know it's probably going to take me multiple days. A lot of things that I've been sewing lately has been taking me multiple days, but that's simply because of working and all that different thing, all that different stuff. But on a regular basis, I am get it done in one day. If I can't get it done in one day, I don't want to make it. I don't. So I make sure I have plenty of time that day, don't have anything else to do to make the things that I want to make. All right. I think this is the last thing. Tidy as you go or one big cleaning session. I am a one big cleaning session, and that's usually after I have sewn multiple things and I am stepping over stuff on the floor. It would be great to tidy as I go, but I'm just not built like that. I'm not. I will sew 4 or 5 things and then I'll go, oh my goodness, my creativity. I can't get it back. It's so messy in here. Oh my goodness. And then I'll do one big cleanup session. Um, so that is it for this or that challenge, the sewing edition. I have learned a lot about myself, and I learned that there should be some things that I should be doing that I'm not doing. I might change, I might not. So I would like to tag, and some of these people may have already been tagged, but I'm going to tag them again. I want to tag Crumpets Tea and Sewing. I want to tag 85th and Wade, and I want to tag Sochi Designs. All right, so let me know in the comments what you think about this or that sewing edition. Let me know if you remember, let me know what some of your choices are. Do you prefer this or that? All right, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified each time I post a new video, and I will see you in the next one.